The philosopher Peter Kraft once summarized the two main ideas of atheism as, one, there is no God, and two, I hate him. A lack of faith is rarely purely intellectual. It is almost always connected to some kind of anger or resentment at who they thought God was supposed to be. It's also pretty similar to what we see with this woman at the well. Jesus' goal in this conversation is to give the water of life to this person. But he first draws her into conversation, lets her experience that he cares for her. And then when he brings up the biggest obstacle to her receiving it, her sin, he's gentle. He first offers her a chance to bring up the truth herself about her situation. But she's cagey and vague. So he cuts to the chase. You have had 5 husbands. Notice what she does immediately after that. Deflects. She brings up an entirely unrelated theological controversy. What does the Jewish-Samaritan debate about the temple have to do with her sin of adultery? Well, if she can show that the Jews are wrong about the temple, maybe she won't feel so bad about breaking other commandments. Maybe then she wouldn't have to go to the well in the heat of the day to avoid the other women in the village who would go in the morning when it makes sense. Jesus doesn't back down, though. He clearly defends the truth that the Jews are right about the temple, but also pushes past that to the real point: salvation. The theology matters not because it proves the Jews are smarter than the Samaritans or better, but because it leads to authentic hope. The promise of worship in spirit and truth touches something deep within this woman and capitalizes on her innate desire to be right with God. Like the atheist who resents the God he doesn't believe in, all this woman really wants is peace and joy. In both the case of the atheist and the woman, it is sin and error and woundedness that gets in the way. But each of them would rather hide behind arguments than address the problem within. In both cases, the way forward is to speak to that deeper inner desire for joy and peace. And when Jesus touches on that, she can't help but respond with excitement. I know that the Messiah is coming. He will tell us everything. Finally, she's being sincere, open with what she wants. She does want the truth, but she's always imagined it as something hidden in the future. And that habit of putting it off has allowed her to stay on the fence, to both want the truth, but also avoid facing it in her own life of sin. But now that she has exposed that deeper desire, Jesus can reveal to her that he is, in fact, the Messiah, the one she's looking for. And because all of that truth has been revealed in the context of love, she's able to embrace it, even running off to tell others about it. Now, obviously, there are important differences between an atheist and this woman, but there are important similarities. For one, in both cases, we see that human beings do not base themselves only on reason or only on emotion. All of our foundational beliefs, all of our biggest decisions in life feature a mixture of reason and emotion. Really, it's even more complex than that, but it gets the point. And what is the point? That we are really good at deceiving ourselves and thinking we're objective. Almost everyone thinks they are reasonable. Almost everyone thinks that they have struck the right balance between what different groups of people think. Almost everyone is actually hiding from some truth to justify themselves. This woman is a well-known adulteress, but she still thinks she knows better than the Jews. The other Samaritans in town are confident enough to ostracize this woman because of her sin, but they've mixed pagan errors into their faith. The disciples are following the Messiah, but they completely misunderstand his metaphors. And they still don't get how zealous Jesus is for proclaiming the truth, even to Samaritan women. 23% of Americans are Catholic, but 75% of those think the Eucharist is just a symbol and not really Jesus. Everyone knows Catholics are supposed to go to confession, but less than half of Catholics even go once a year. Knowing the truth, loving the truth, living the truth, these things are unfortunately all too easy to separate. And the more sin you inject the equation, the harder it is to see the disconnect. So what is the answer? Jesus Christ is the answer. Because you see, unlike a philosophical debate about whether or not God exists, unlike a theological debate about which version of God is the right one, this conversation between the Samaritan woman and Jesus is not just about ideas. Jesus doesn't just explain true concepts. He is the truth. Human beings, especially fallen ones, need more than correct ideas. They need personal encounter. Because only personal encounter can meet them on all the layers they need: intellectual, spiritual, and emotional, and more. And this matters both for ourselves and for what we do for others. For ourselves, it's a call to humility about our own personal convictions. There is a real good chance, basically guaranteed, that some of our beliefs as individuals aren't based on the truth, but on our desires, our emotions, and our wounds. For others, it's a challenge for us to be human in how we proclaim the gospel to others. They do need to hear the truth. Jesus was straightforward that the Samaritan woman was wrong. But they need to hear the truth as an invitation to a relationship with the truth that is Jesus Christ. It's why God became man. It's why our sacraments use words, gestures, and physical objects. It's why we fast in Lent. It's why we insist on using music and art to convey the faith to the next generation. Catholicism is not a set of ideas. It is a relationship with Jesus Christ. And Jesus Christ is a real person. He's not your imaginary friend for you to define however you like. There are things about Jesus that are true, whether you like it or not, whether you know it or not. And if we get the wrong idea about Jesus and who he is, then we don't have a relationship with him, we have a relationship with our own imagination. And our hope would simply be delusional. This is why the church is so essential. It is the external guarantee that you have a relationship with more than your own ideas and imagination. Sometimes we need the truth plainly stated. Sometimes we need healing of our wounds. Always we need conversion and forgiveness. Always we need love. Fortunately, all of those things and more are found in one and the same person, Jesus Christ. Jesus, who not only debated about the truth, but loved us with that truth. Loved us so much that while we were still sinners, he died for us. See that love. Let go of your pride and let him bring you to the truth. The truth about your sin, the truth about yourself, the truth about doctrines and teachings you don't like, the truth about what you are called to do. then go do it, because you're not the only one who needs it.